Hi, Dr. Nicole. How are you? Do people ever call you that? Like,
Dr. Nicole now.
Dr. Nicole. Okay, okay, I'm the first. Great.
You are the first. You are the first.
Dr. Nicole, Dr. Nikki. Thanks so much for being here with me today. And I'm so excited that you're a collaborative partner for Dandy Day. Um, Before I had the pleasure of meeting you, I had heard about you from many people that like I love and respect in the industry. One of being Richard Peets, who is a really, really good friend of mine, and I he's such a good friend that I told his significant other that if anything happens to him, it's okay, I'll take care of Richard. So anybody who comes highly recommended from him is always such a pleasure, and it's been so awesome that we've had this like friendship that's really happened over this coronavirus time, and that's been one of the silver linings for me. And so I'm just so excited that you're here, and I wanted to take a moment for anybody who's watching this to be able to understand who you are, a little bit more about what you do. Just from my perspective, I think you're one of the most important people here in the United States talking about clean beauty. I mean, it's easy just to have information that you hear and repeat it, but you're actually in there doing the research. You have the background, the education, and are working on a different side. That's kind of what I would say pre-industry. And I think that's where a lot of the change is coming. So I would love for more people to work with you. And also, I guess where they can do that, I'd like to learn more about how did your company come into existence. Tell me about yourself, whatever you'd like to share.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Haley, for this opportunity, but also just for, as you said, our friendship that's been growing over these last few months. It's been really, really wonderful as well for me. And so, a little bit about myself. I always like to introduce myself by that which I think that I really am at my core. I am a reproductive and environmental health scientist that happened to find my way into the beauty industry about 5 years ago. And the way that that transition happened was, I've been very focused throughout my professional career in understanding what are these external environmental impact factors that affect our health and what can we do about them. And so for me, I've been really focused on how do we minimize our exposures to chemicals of concern in our everyday goods, and our consumer goods and the foods we eat and everything. And what's the best way to really, really do that meaningfully? So for a long time, I really felt like, well, the way to approach that meaningfully is to work more in the regulatory spaces around that. And I was actually looking to go in that direction in about 2015. I was finishing a postdoc at Tufts School of Medicine in Boston, focusing my research on what we call endocrine disrupting chemicals. So chemicals that really can impact our hormonal system and can have a lot of different effects on our bodies, both in real time and also in later life and even transgenerationally. So I was really focused on that, looking at a regulatory career. And I was actually approached by a company in the personal care space that was really looking to impact the personal care space by focusing on ingredient safety from the vantage point that I understood chemical safety to be important, which is really looking at all these human health and environmental impact factors and addressing safety in that way when we're looking at product development. So I was drawn into the personal care space, and I'm not looking back. It's been a really, really wonderful shift. And it's been really great because it's been an opportunity for me to understand just how powerful an industry this is for impacting the change that we want to see. The consumers really drive this space, and the advocacy of the consumer really drives the space more so than other consumer good spaces, with the exception maybe of food. But it's just been such a joy to be able to work so meaningfully with so many people and so many partners to work on bringing safer products to the market in a meaningful way. So actually, to answer your actual question of how did my company come into existence, so actually I started my own scientific consulting business, Elavo Mundi Solutions, in 2017. So it's been about 3 years now that I've been working very intentionally in this space, with a specific vantage point of working with folks that are in the brand space, but also in the supply chain and in the retail space to formulate to clean.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, and it's you're so humble. You're a very humble person, but you've really been on the forefront. Some of the biggest brands and some of the largest initiatives I know of to really help bring this about. So, so anybody watching this, if you just research Nicole's information, you'll be able to find out all about that. And so what, I know you kind of talked about your background and what led you to how your company came into existence, but what specifically does your company solve, a problem that your company solves for a brand?
Yeah, I mean, our goal at Elavo Mundi Solutions is really to take the stress and confusion out of the product development process by providing really clear solutions for how to develop towards cleaner, more sustainable, and high-performing product development. And this also helps to increase consumer confidence in a brand's clean beauty claims. So you're actually developing more intentionally, but you're also increasing the confidence of your consumer in what you're putting out there.
Yeah, that's great. And then like your when you say those clean claims, that can take individuals or companies years to sift through all that and trying to figure out what that actually means. And so I think that's what makes you so unique, is that you have your postdoctorate really studying this and understanding all of those impacts and how that translates into regulations that ends up in products on shelves that people use. So a huge time saver and protection, I would say, for brands, because they really have that transparency that I think they desire. And there's really not a lot of people out there that can do what you do. So big problem solver. Yeah, and so as you're solving those problems, like what are some of your specific services that you offer to brands?
Yeah, I mean, our primary focus is to work with clients to define their brand specific clean beauty standards, and then to help them develop clear formulation guidelines and robust restricted substance lists to help them efficiently meet their target market requirements for chemical safety compliance. So this includes both regulatory and what I call beyond regulatory compliance measures. So this is, regulatory is only as robust as what your market is, or even, if you're currently formulating in the US, our regulatory considerations are quite minimal. So beyond regulatory really is an important measure of how to formulate to clean, because it's taking into account maybe what's not being regulated right now, but what's being looked at from a regulatory perspective, down the road, and also what we know could be these impacts, once again, on our health or on the environment, that kind of sit outside of these regulatory constraints, but that we know are really important given our the way we are exposed to these products in our everyday life. We also provide comprehensive safety assessments of ingredients that are used in formulation or packaging to make sure that they meet the strict criteria for reducing risk to human health and the environment. We also help integrate the chemical management strategies that are required to really formulate to clean at any stage of product development, and provide resources for engaging a company's supply chain to participate in the implementation of these strategies, which is really, really critical. And we also contribute health and safety related editorial content to help a company relay the clean beauty strategies to their consumer.
Yeah, all really important services. I mean, I can't tell you how many times with the hundreds of brands that I've worked with or entrepreneurs where they're reformulating because they didn't have a clear strategy going forward. They didn't have the understanding. And
Right.
maybe they want to go into a new market or they want to go into a different storefront or retailer. And then they find out, years and thousands upon thousands of dollars later, like, oh my gosh, I can't use this. And then their whole brand is kind of in jeopardy too, trying to
Right.
figure out how to backtrack um, from what they put out there to the market. So it's just so important. And is
Yeah,
there
if I
any?
can just add, I
Oh,
just, one of the things that I have found to be so important in this strategy of, this approach to formulating with the intentionality being really clear and the path and the strategy being really clear is it removes the reactivity aspect of trying to formulate to clean.
mm,
There is so much that is out there, and it's hard to, as you said, hard to sift through what's important to focus on. And every single client I've ever interacted with has come from a place of real authenticity around their goals of
yeah,
approaching cleaning strategy. But it's like, how do you do it? And so just having this clear path, it just takes away the reactivity, so you can just be proactive, and that you know that you're not going to have to be fixing things every couple of years just to try to get back on track. So
yeah,
this increases efficiency and reduces pain and struggles.
yeah. We like to shorten timelines and save money and
Yes.
focus, like you said, about what we're putting out there in an authentic way. Um, and I'll say just from my experience as a formulator and then really focusing on selling natural alternatives to controversial ingredients. In my past before Dandy Day, it was all about the anticipation. It was all about getting the right documents, the right regulatory documents to the chemist. And I do remember just being pretty shocked how the regulatory documents were kind of the last thing to be looked at. It was always the price, um, yeah, the price and the lead time, and maybe where it was coming from, as far as like from a logistics standpoint. Um, and then all of the other really important questions were like the last thing that people would ask for. And it always really, I thought it was very strange. It was like, that's where all of your gold is in those regulatory documents. When you know, yeah, what you're doing, where you're going, um, and any kind of pain points where you're making
Yeah,
claims and find that out like, oh, I can't use this ingredient.
right. And beyond that, honestly, there's been such a strong movement in the investor space around, in the personal care space, around increased chemical safety standards and sustainability standards. So it's really changing the game. So this is now the market pressures are greater than just consumer advocacy or wanting to stay on trend as a brand. It really is, investors are looking to make smart choices, and
Mhm.
when you have any risk around chemical safety or consumer perception of chemical safety, that's a risk. So there is
Mhm.
that other element that is actually really important to be thinking about and really integrating at this time.
Definitely. And then I think we don't always talk about it from like a formulation aspect, but as you mentioned, this would definitely fit into your SOPs, right? When you are creating
Oh, yeah.
formulations, this is a protocol that you take. And anytime you have really strong SOPs, reasons for doing things, that does increase the value of your company and that quality for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, so fun, so fun. Um, and what does the company need to have in place before they start working with you? Is there anything in particular, or?
Very simple, a clear vision for how they want to engage authentically in the clean beauty space. Honestly, that's it. Because everything else are the details. Everything else is building the platform that's going to help you run with this. And that's really the beauty of, no pun intended, of being able to work with different companies at different stages, even of their own development, is it doesn't matter where you're engaging, at what stage. Obviously, there is a certain ease to engaging really early on, because then you're setting a standard, then you're not having to redefine it. But that's if you're at a stage where you're wanting to refine or redefine, that's okay too. It's just about the authentic engagement. That is what's important to me and what's important to the work that we do. Because there has to be a certain understanding of guardrails around what clean beauty is. It has to fit within a robust enough frame of work, so that it doesn't just become something that's a good tagline, or something that you can easily poke holes into.
Okay, good. And I'm sure, like you say, it's very easy. I was kind of laughing. I don't know how serious you were. It's very easy, because I sometimes I talk to people and they think that their vision's very clear, but when they get to unpacking some of that, then it becomes maybe not so clear. So do you help them kind of walk through that? Or there's some resources that you give them and say, like, maybe come back when you have a more clear vision? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, I've never had to ask somebody to come back. It's really, when I say about clear vision, it's about knowing where it is that you want to be leading in this space. Every company has something new to offer this space. It almost blows my mind how much reinvention can continue to occur in the beauty space in particular. So there's space for everybody. I really feel that. So it's about, what are you here to do? What is your mission with what your brand is? And if the mission really is around wanting to ensure that, products are safer for humans, safer for the environment, there's a spectrum. You've heard me speak about this, but I consider there to be a spectrum of clean. And so you're looking at how clearly you want to be working to develop products that are, just really good for the consumer, that your consumer demographic, all the way to like that plus, what's going to be the most beneficial to the world at large, the environment. And then there's all these factors in between. So if you really feel like you hit both of those or one of those parameters, and you're really clear that that's how you want to engage in the space, then to me, that's the vision. That's the clarity of the vision. And then the logistics we work out. And so, yes, if you're more focused on being more on one end than the other, then that will just dictate how everything is set up so that you are able to actually execute on that standard really well.
Nice. And how long is your onboarding process when a company decides they want to start working with you?
Yeah, depending on the desired scope of work, onboarding usually occurs within 1 to 3 weeks of an initial conversation about overall goals and needs. So it's not, it's not too protracted. It's pretty quick. Once again, it does depend on the scope of work. There are some clients that are needing to really develop out more robust projects, and so there is a stage gate process around that. But usually, once again, the initial engagement and starting to really work on the initial parts of the project usually happen between 1 to 3 weeks.
Okay, great. And do you have like a particular cost structure, or does it vary by project?
Yeah, it does vary by project, and I do work in different ways. So I primarily work on a project-based structure, and that's really because most of the clients that I engage with are really, as I said, they know they want to be in the space, they just don't know how to do it. So I'm able to really provide a very clear path forward, and so that's a project that's already been well structured. So I'm able to kind of engage full on, and then obviously make that very brand specific with the client. So that's primarily how I work, but I also work on an hourly basis with clients that are just looking for maybe a specific ask here or there. One of the other things that I do is I do engage directly with formulators and other members of the supply chain if need be. But I do work in conjunction with formulators, so actually I can help um, maybe ease that communication and increase efficiency of the formulation process by making sure that ingredients of concern just aren't being introduced at any stage during the product development process. So sometimes that can just, that can fall into an hourly ask if that's, what a client's looking for. And then I also work on retainer with some clients who are really have multiple layers of needs for the different hats that I wear. And it's just easier for them to engage me on that basis so that there isn't, it's just a little bit easier for us all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great that everybody can kind of have you as they need you in different ways. So, and what are the realistic expectations for a brand or entrepreneur or any company, I guess, when they start working with you in your company? Is there something that consistently comes up that's always a little bit of a shock to a company where you're like, okay, let me just set this expectation. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you mean expectations on what I can deliver or expectations on what they can do after we have worked together?
Either one. Either one.
Yeah, I think, that I have found the expectations of what I can deliver are very clear. There can be some, depending on the ask, it can maybe there can be some protracted time on some deliverables that might require some deeper work. But other than that, I've pretty much mapped out how long things do take to execute on, and I'm really respectful of the fact that this is an industry in which things move quickly, and clients really do need to be able to move on deliverables quickly. So that goes really hand in hand with my overall goals for the work that I do, and also with the work that I want my clients to be able to execute on. Is like, let's get efficiency in here so that you don't have to be stumbling around unnecessarily in the dark trying to figure stuff out. Let's clear the path, and then the other factors that have to go into executing on delivering on product, you can just roll into those. So yeah, I don't think I have found that there are any major surprises that have popped up in terms of in the years that I've been doing this with clients. Basically, what we discuss on the onset, that is delivered pretty much on schedule as we map out together. So
Okay. Yay. Good. And then I have one last question. Is what are you grateful for?
so much, so much. Grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be in this body and to be healthy and to be able to continue to do work that feels really, really meaningful. It's really been, as I said earlier at the beginning, I feel like I kind of stumbled into this space and into this industry, but at the same time, it's felt so guided, and it's been such a wonderful, it's just been such a wonderful manifestation that all that I've wanted to do is to really help us create a better world in the ways that we can. And the way that I can, and the way that I love doing it is, through wearing my scientific hats and, really being able to bring some clarity around where we are in the world and what we can actually affect change on. I mean, that's been the really beautiful thing about this is there's a lot we can do as individuals. There's a lot we can do as consumers. There's a lot we can do as communities to really advocate and create the change that we want to see. And so, whatever small part I get to play and just, helping to create some pathways or some insights or some innovation, whatever it is, that the spot I get to hold in this big network that I get to work in it's a real joy, and it's I'm just beyond grateful for that. So
Well, it was always so beautiful talking with you, Nicole. I always feel uplifted when we have our conversations, and um, yeah, and like you, I feel very grateful to be that all my worlds have kind of converged into beauty. So that's kind of funny how it's all happened, but and just meeting other wonderful people like yourself and the work that you do. So thank you so much again for your time today. I hope that everybody is watching has gotten a sense of how wonderful you are and how brilliant, and definitely a part. They need you to be a part of what they're doing. They really do. So I will talk to you soon. And if there's not anything else that you want to share, I guess we can sign off.
yes. No, wonderful to connect with you always. And thank you so much for having me here. And I look forward to working with you for many years to come.
Yes, me too.
So.
Okay, we're gonna do the wave. Bye.
Bye.